Hello family and friends and fellow YouTubers, it's Kim here from Kim's Country Corner, and today I am out at the Hancock Homestead in the kitchen and I am getting ready to fix barbecued pulled pork for pulled pork sandwiches. And I'm getting ready to stick it in the crock pot, and I thought that I would do a real quick video on how to fix barbecued pulled pork. So first thing I have to do though is to cut open this pulled pork and stick it into the crock pot. I'm doing this Sunday night at 11:30 because I want it to cook all night long. Okay? And if you put it in the crock pot on low, you can cook it for 10 to 12 hours during the night, and then it's ready to go for tomorrow. Alright, let me get the temp set. Okay, so I have the temp set at low. I have the hours set at 10 because that's as high as it'll go. So let's go ahead and put this pork in there. You seeing that? Okay. You want to put the fat side down. Okay. And then I always like to add a cup of water. All right. Okay, so a lot of people do not think that this part is necessary because you are putting it into a slow cooker, into a crock pot, which is supposed to make it tender, but I also like to tenderize it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And what you do is you just sprinkle it onto your wet meat. And then you take a fork, punch little holes to make sure that that gets down into it. Alright. To make it more tender. Alright, put the lid on. Secure it. That's step one. That's all I have to do for the rest of this evening. Then tomorrow morning, whenever I get up about 6:30, I will bring you back for step two and take it from there. Alright, so see y'all in the morning. Good morning, family and friends and fellow YouTubers. It's Kim here from Kim's Country Corner, and we are ready to move on to step two of preparing our pulled pork. Okay? And we're going to do barbecue pulled pork. So for this step, I always like to use a shallow baking pan. Of course, things to remove the pork, like my spatula and my fork, and then a pair of scissors. Okay? Alright, so the pork is not all the way finished cooking, but this is just a good point in time to do this part. Alright, so we're going to take the pork out of the crock pot. And it will fall apart on you. That's a good sign. Okay? Alright, so it's during this step that I like to get rid of all the fat. Now some people just eat it with the fatty part. Okay? I do not like that fat. So this is the part where I get rid of the fat. In fact, sometimes I will even drain it because it's hard to scoop this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and drain my juice. I'm going to keep the juice, but I'm going to send it through a colander so that the fatty parts will come out. Alright, so anyway, where I was at is that we are removing the fat from the bottom of the pork. Okay? And I don't know if you saw or not, but this did it itself. A lot of times the fat will come off all by itself in one large piece. See? So that is a solid piece of fat. And I just put that into a different pan or bowl, whatever, and Paulo will have a nice little treat this afternoon. Alright, so let me bring you in just a little bit closer so that if it does it to this piece over here, you'll be able to see it. Okay. Alright, so this has, what we're going to do is we're going to look for the layer of fat here. And you can see it just kind of makes a solid piece. And if you get a fork or a spatula or something right underneath of there, it will peel right off. You see how that's peeling off? Okay. So you just scrape that off. And then just take it out and put it into your fat bowl. There we go. I mean, it's not going to kill you, you know, if you leave a little piece of fat in there like that, but I just do not like getting a piece of that slimy stuff in my mouth. So I always get rid of it. Alright, and then you're left with this clean white meat. And sometimes let me get that little piece off. If I can. See that little piece? It's going to be hard to... Alright. There. Alright, so then you're left with what I call a clean piece of pork. Alright, both sides here. Nice and clean, hardly any fat. It rolls right off. It slides right off if you have any. Alright, that meat's too good. Okay, so then you're left with what I call a clean piece of pork. Alright, so using your spatula, you're just going to pull that apart. And it will pull apart very, very easily. Almost like slices, okay? Now, a lot of people will stop there after they've pulled it apart and leave it like that. However, I like for my pieces to be just a little bit shorter. Do you see how long those are? Okay. So then that's where I use my scissors and I just go through and cut those strips in half. Alright, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah. Okay, so let me go through and I'm going to cut these in half and then I will put them back into the crock pot. But before I put it back in here, I want to drain this out because a lot of the fat fell off into my liquid. But I want to keep my liquid, okay? So let's go over here and drain that. So what I did was I set a colander on top of the pan because I want to keep the liquid but get rid of the fat. So I'm going to drain that out. Okay. Then I'm going to put this fluid, this liquid, back into the crock pot. Alright, and so then as I cut my pork apart, okay, the pieces I've cut apart, I just put back in there. And sorry guys, but I use my fingers for this part because it just goes faster. So it is still a little warm, okay, but I just picked that up like that and I just cut it in half. You don't have to cut it in half. You don't have to do this part. If you don't mind it being long like that, but I've just always done it this way. I mean, if you end up with a few long pieces, you know, it's however you like it. If you like the long pieces, then leave it long. If you don't like the long pieces, then cut it in half. If you like the fat, leave it on. If you don't like the fat, then take it off. You know, it's your taste. Okay, now see that piece there just came right off of that fat. I don't know if you can see that or not. Right here is some fat, and that piece those pieces just came right off of that. You'll be able to tell when you're working with it. All right, see, there's fat, and it just slides right off. John probably would not care about the fat. In fact, he would probably be saying, that's what gives it flavor. But I have never liked fat from a meat. So. Alright, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir this up in its juice here. Make sure that is, make sure that is completely coated with its juice. Alright. Because that's what's going to keep it from drying out. But, let me show you. Alright, so see, it's completely coated in its juice. Okay, and I'm going to let it sit there and soak in its juice for just a few minutes. Okay, friends, so my battery died. You know, it seems like, have you ever had one of those days where every time you start something, something goes wrong? I think it's called Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law day, anything that could go wrong will go wrong. Leaned up against the dishwasher, started it, was explaining about letting the meat soak in the juice, and the battery dies. Anyway, where I left off at was, I think I was showing you a close-up of the meat simmering in its juices. Okay, so I let the meat soak up its juices to keep it moist. However, I need to move on to the next step. That is to drain the meat now, because I want to add barbecue sauce. Okay, and I don't want the meat too wet for the barbecue sauce. So once again, I'm going to move over here to the sink, and we're going to drain this through the colander. so you're going to drain off the excess liquid, okay? Doesn't have to be perfectly dry, you just want the excess gone. If you were just making plain pulled pork for like a meal, or plain pork for a meal, you would drain it, and then this liquid down here, this is what would make your gravy, okay? That would make a beautiful pork gravy to go over the top of it like mashed potatoes. Alright? Alright, so we have the pork drained. It's going to go back into the crock pot. Okay? Alright, let me move back over where we were at. Alright, so then you're going to get out your barbecue sauce, and we like the Sweet Baby Ray's, and for this I'm using the honey flavored. So this is the Sweet Baby Ray's honey barbecue sauce. You can use whatever barbecue sauce you like, okay? Now, I know that an official cook would probably say and add 1 cup or 2 cups, okay? I don't know how many cups to tell you because I go by sight. Alright, so let's just measure how many cups as we go. Alright, so that's 1 cup. Pour that on there. Mix it up. Like I'm standing right in your all's way. Okay. Alright, I knew that wouldn't be enough. Even though it looked like a lot, pork is almost like a sponge. It just kind of absorbs that sauce. So it actually takes more sauce than you think it's going to take. I wish there was a way I could tilt that crock pot so you could see. Let's try this. Let's see if I can tilt that. Just so you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah, that works. All right. See, it's not quite barbecue enough. So we're going to add more sauce here. We just added 1 cup. All right, and this is going to make 2 cups. Alright, so I'm going to stir that up. There. It's looking much better. But through the stirring, you can tell I brought some of the uncoated pork up to the top. So that's why you want to stir as you go. Make sure you're getting it all covered. Alright, that looks pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and add just another ½ cup for good measure. Okay. Now, I will let that sit in there and soak in that sauce. And then when it's lunchtime, we can enjoy it. If as it progresses, I decide I want more sauce, I can add more sauce. If you put light sauce and someone at your party wants it more barbecued sauce, just have a bottle of barbecue sauce sitting out that they can just put on the buns and add their own flavor. Alright, there we go. That, my friends, that, my family and friends, is how you make pulled barbecued pork. After a while, when we get ready to eat, I'll show you a picture of the sandwich and how yummy it looks. Okay, family and friends, so that was my method on how I make my barbecued pulled pork. There are different ways of doing this. This is just my method. Okay, family and friends, so I'm getting ready to fix John and I some lunch. So I thought I would show you the pulled pork. There it is. And I will probably add a little bit of barbecue sauce to the bun. That's this one. And I always take a fork with me because it never fails that some of it will fall off. So you want to have a fork to eat up the goodie with. Get out some chips. Slice up a tomato. Alright, and then I'm also going to slice us up a tomato to go with our sandwiches. Got a couple of small ones here. I like mine peeled. So, or at least partially peeled. Okay, family and friends, well, I'm going to wrap up this video for today, even though it's just lunchtime. This is going to be my Vlog-tember 5. It is Monday, September the 5th, Vlog-tember 5, so I've made it 5 days so far. And I had a really busy day yesterday, and today I'm a little bit tired. And I don't really have a lot of energy to do much. I'm going to work on some laundry. I'm going to play on the computer for a little while. And that's going to be about all I do today. So, if you liked my Vlog-tember 5 video about how to make the pork roast, then please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to know more about what's going on in my corner of the world, hit that subscribe button to Kim's Country Corner and come back tomorrow and see what we have planned, because I'm hoping to make a trip into Monroe City to grab some animal food, and I'm hoping that we can start transplanting some plants that I want to do. So, I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye for now.